change, and as I said before, if you guys have anything that you would like to share about your experiences with Leanne in your life, whether they be memories or stories that you want to tell. With this group, I don't think we necessarily need to keep them PG, although that probably would be good, just knowing some of the antics that went on. But anyway, I think to kick, so Grant is going to come up. Where are you at, Grant? I think he's going to kick us off here with something that he has prepared. And then literally, if you have something, please come up. You can line up here if there's, if you need to. You can also probably just stand up and talk where you are if you don't want to come up and speak into the mic, as long as you speak loud enough. But let's share some stories about Leanne and remember her.
Thanks, everyone, for coming. Today, we're here to celebrate the life of a very amazing woman. Leanne Harvey Plummer was smart, tenacious, beautiful, and hilarious. Her smile lit up a room, and her joyful energy was contagious. She connected with people instantly and gave you her full and complete attention, even if you just met. She loved unconditionally and deeply. Leanne was a mama bear, not only to her children, but to mine as well. She was our rock when we needed her the most. Leanne was also a woman of strong opinions. She shared them freely and enjoyed a good debate. Anyone have experience with that one? She also had a great pride of kicking Brett's ass in the crossword puzzle every day. Thank you all for the outpouring of love and support. You guys are amazing. Leanna, you will be missed by so many. We love you, darling girl.
Sorry. Are you okay? I grew up with Leanne, and she was a douche. She was awesome because she never let up, right? So she always just, you know what I'm saying? She was opinionated, like everybody's saying. I can't do this, I'm sorry, but I loved her to death, and I loved her, and she was awesome. I love you guys.
I had a prop, but I can't find it. So I met Leanne 38 years ago. She was friends with Ron, my son-in-law now, and Jeff Viano and Melissa, and we were together a lot. And in fact, she babysat Angie and Chris, my kids, and she used to work at Blockbuster Video, and she brought over a Blockbuster movie, Christmas Vacation, and those kids watched it over and over and over, and I finally said, Leanne, we got to get this back. She goes, no, just keep it, it's fine. Well, here we are 38 years later, and I still had that Blockbuster Video. And I'm so glad. I'm sorry. She was everything to me. I'm gonna miss her so much. Her kids and her husband were her world. And we have all got to be here for them. This turnout is amazing, and I would expect nothing else because Leanne was amazing. I could always count on Leanne, whether it was to babysit my dog, my kids. I had breast cancer, and she was by my side continually. We lived close to each other, and so I got to see her a lot, and I'm going to miss her popping in and out and texting. The last text message that I got from her said, "I love you so much." And I love her so much. And we just have to keep her in our heart. And like Jake said to me the other day, we can't move on. There's no moving on. But we have to learn to survive. And that's going to take some time. But as long as we're all here for the rest of the family, that's what Leanne would want. I love you, my sweet baby girl. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out and lending your love and support. Leanne and I shared a birthday, December 19th, so she was like a sister in a lot of ways. I'm going to miss her dearly. Like Grant said, never one to turn down a feisty argument. Me, myself included, we had a lot of fun interactions that sometimes didn't end so well, but we always loved each other the next day even more. I'm grateful that she mixed blood with our blood and created these amazing humans. My little amazing humans, they remember Leanne because she was always so loving. They remember doing Little Red Riding Hood at the lake. That was the first thing. They put on this big elaborate play, and Leanne had everything. I mean, like, it was top notch. And Winston, he always remembers Leanne because she never came to the house without some pickles. She was a pickle queen. And I'm going to miss her dearly, and I understand and feel the pain that everybody here is dealing with. And if we all just accept that we're going to feel that, and we all do it together, and then just all love each other and understand that the wave is a sleeper wave that took us down, and we're getting spun around. But air is up there. We just have to feel this and get through it together. And that's why it's so nice to see everybody and see who's there. Because I don't live here, so it's nice to know who I can count on. So thank you for all of you who have stepped up to support my family, mi familia. I love you guys, and I'm here for you. And I'm going to miss Leanne more than anything because, like I said, she was like a sister. I had two awesome brothers, and so losing a sister hurts. But rest her soul. Let's all be here for each other and just love everybody here. Thank you.
I go back pretty far with Leanne, and I don't have a brother. Brett's as close as I've got to being a brother. Our friend group is pretty tight, and we had a lot of memorable experiences together. And I received recently. I sent out. Reason I have this phone here like this is I sent out a text to some of our friends that aren't in the area that might not know about this today. One of our friends, Pat McIntyre, texted back, and this morning I met Brett here to kind of stake this territory out for today, and I read him this, and he wanted me to read it to you guys. It's pretty heartfelt, and it kind of encapsulates the idea that Leanne's not here physically, but she's here in spirit, and she'll be with all of us that knew her and loved her and everything for the rest of our lives. So let me read this, and if you guys know Macker, you'll appreciate it. So I'll try to get through this without crying. Hey friends, family, Macker here. It's looking like I can't be present physically for Leanne's celebration of life, With you in spirit, of course, always. Wish I could share that spirit, the strong, moving, fun-loving spirit of all friends on this list and beyond, those with soul. Leanne has soul, has spirit, not had, has spirit. She's no more gone than if she were at the grocery store. Hope you all know that, you feel it, maybe not right this moment, but you will. Embrace that, share it, know it's true because we all have a terminal condition. It's called life. My dad used to tell his patients, Pat's dad was a family doctor. My dad used to tell his patients that he had a big spirit. You'd feel him coming before his crazy ass ever said a word. I feel him now. He's physically dead 12 years now, but spiritually alive and well. In me, those who knew him, yeah, you know him, or you know. I'm preaching to the choir, y'all know. So I'll see y'all next time, maybe on the other side, God only knows. Embrace that spirit of one another, and as always, let the celebration of life continue. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Hello, everyone. My daughter, Lila, is Hazel's best friend, and we're here supporting her today. I had created a GoFundMe account for the family just to help with any costs during this time. I know right now work and bills and all of that is not probably the forefront, while the family is grieving. I'm not sure if it reached enough people, but I wanted to give the opportunity if anyone else wanted to donate during this time for this family. If you just go to GoFundMe.com and you can just search in the little search bar at the top.
I don't know if I'll get through this. Gonna try. Tim, who he and his wife Kelly set all the video up, which we couldn't see very well because the sun came out, but he asked if any of us knew any favorite sayings of Leanne's. And I said, well, she always said to me a lot, "Are you kidding?" And Brett says, "I didn't hear her say that very much." And I thought, no, it was probably the stuff I was always telling her about health or vitamins or something. And her response was, "Are you kidding?" And the other one that she liked to say was, "Let's go bitches," which neither of which would probably be appropriate for the Idaho Youth Sports Commission t-shirt for the kids. But anyway, I just wanted to say that because we have a big hole. Thanks for all you guys for filling it.
Marilyn, it was, "What's up, bitches?" That was what it was.
Oh, not let's go. Not let's go, bitches.
It was, what's up? I was fortunate enough to be with Leanne on her last trip to Ireland, and just as they were saying in the obituary, she had such an amazing way with people, and she met a bunch of people. We went out to visit Heather and Jamie's neighbors' friends in Ireland, and the lady was 80 years old, and she passed away 2 days before we got there. And so we ended up at somewhat of a funeral instead of a New Year's Eve party. And that whole family ended up falling in love with her. And I ended up getting at least 10 texts from Ireland. They learned about Leanne, and they were all so concerned about her, and they sent their love and their blessings. And so that's the kind of person she is. She gets on a plane and goes someplace and has tons of family members in a different country. And so I was very fortunate to be able to get through that with her. I was in Honolulu when I found out about this. Britta called me. And I cried so hard that I lost my rental car for 2 days and had to call the police because I forgot where I put the rental car and had to find a flight here as quick as possible. And it's been probably the toughest 7 days of my whole entire life until I pulled myself together just a couple of days ago. And when I landed, the first thing that I'd ever do when I come to Boise would be to text Leanne and be like, let's meet at Perea, and we'd go have tacos. And when I landed, I went to go text Leanne. It was so strange, I can't even tell you. And I'm like, oh, that's why I'm here. It's not to go to Perea. So I've had 99% of my memories I probably should not talk about here because we had a lot of fun. But she did love her family so much, you kids, and her Brett. I mean, Brett's listed in her phone as Brad, the mad dad, I think. I mean, she just loved to nickname people. Her dogs were chickens. Nothing was ever named the right thing. I think my name was Luca, or Melaleuca, whatever, never Melissa. And she just touched our lives so much, I can't even tell you. And the weirdest thing that happened to me 2 days ago, then the only reason I can stand up here without losing it is, this is kind of a strange story, but our friend Deb Sprague, her mother passed away, and she's like, I swear to God, my mother is a yellow bird. She's like, we've never had this yellow bird in her house before, and now it always comes. And I was like, well, that's strange. And then her best friend passed away of cancer, and she thinks her best friend is Rain. So I'm like, well, whatever, you're crazy. So I go home. I live in Denver by Jake. I go home, and I'm sitting in my backyard, and I have the strangest bird I've ever seen in my whole entire life, building this strange nest 2 feet away from me. And what bird does this? And then for the next couple of hours, he would come sit on my table, and I looked at the bird, and I'm like, Leanne, is that you? And I swear to God, I think this bird in my backyard is Leanne, and I got the biggest smile on my face. And the next day, the bird was back out there building other things, but very close to me, not like a normal bird would. And so that gave me so much relief and just gave me such a smile on my face. And I told Mick, when I woke up this morning, he said, this is probably going to be the worst day of my life. And I said, no, it's going to be the best day of your life. We're going to go celebrate Leanne. And I go, you're not going to be sad about that. And he said, is that how we're rolling with this day? And I said, yes, that's how we're rolling with this day. So everybody smile, try not to cry. I know it's the worst day for most of us, but just smile and think about the fun, happy parts of Leanne. And I think that's how we'll get through this day. Alrighty, thank you.
To follow this up, sorry, I meant to tell you this earlier. Leanne posted on her Facebook page a couple weeks ago, grief never ends, but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness, nor a lack of faith. It is the price of love.
Oh, I'm Dee Dee. I'm cousin-in-law. And a couple things that I'll always remember Leanne with are, for some reason, she and I started talking about hair ties, the little plastic or elastic hair ties. And we always wondered how somebody could lose a hair tie. There'd be on the sidewalk, on the street. So she and I got into a habit of texting each other pictures of hair ties that we'd see. And so there must be 50 or so plus hair ties in our text messages between us. And so if you ever see a hair tie on the floor, or if I see it, I'm going to think of her. And this second thing, excuse me, we had all our family dinners at Jim and Mayor's for holidays and such. And the party never got started until that rush wind of Brett and Leanne and the kids came in. Then we knew time to start the party. I just don't know how we're going to know that now. Loved her. I love her now. I still can't believe it, but I'm going to miss her. And if there's anything I can do for you guys, all you need to do is ask. Call me. I'll be there for you. Miss you, Leanne.
Hi. I'm a new friend of Leanne, kinda, for the last couple of years. Our camping buddies. The Plummer family welcomed me in like a family immediately. We loved them. I'll never forget the way that she cared for my children. We would go camping, and my children knew immediately, oh, we can go and ask Leanne for anything. She's a true friend, a true sister. And I haven't sang the song in a long time, so I might have to pull it out of my back pocket, but thank you for the light that you are. Thank you for the blessing you are. Thank you for the love that you are. You are sacred to me. I love you, sis.
Hello, my name's Henry Plummer, middle child, Brett and Leanne, family right here. I don't have a lot to say, and I could go on for hours, or I don't know how long I could talk about my mom and different things, so I just mainly want to thank you all for coming out here. It's nice to see a lot of people here who care about her, and I'm not going to say a story or anything like that. It just made me happy to see a lot of people here who cared about her, so thank you. And I love my mom, so everyone here is here because they love her, so it's nice to know. But thank you.
Be more of this happening somewhere down the road, around a campfire somewhere, probably up in the Sawtooths. Maybe a little alcohol, maybe a little throwing around the word bitches, but but thank you for all of you that shared. I know what that's like to have to come up and stand in front of a crowd. For a lot of people, that's not very comfortable. But it sure is nice to be able to share and for people to understand that Leanne stole videos from Blockbuster and shared them around town, so that's always a good thing. And thank you so much as well as for sharing about the GoFundMe. I forgot about talking about that, but that would be very helpful to the family as well. And I'm still interested in the bird too. That's kind of interesting. Kind of reminds me of Charlotte's Web a little bit, anyway. Very vague reference. Well, again, my name is Jeff Harvey. I'm going to talk for a little bit about my sister Leanne. And it was my honor to have been part of Brett and Leanne's wedding, which would have been 25 years ago next month. And how many people were actually there at that one? My daughter still affectionately calls that a fairy tale wedding. And in fact, there was many times when I had her picture up in my office downtown, I'd have people coming out of town and ask me what studio that my sister had her pictures in because they thought the background was fake. And I'm like, no, that's actually really a real place. And it was an amazing, amazing time. And today I'm equally honored to stand here as well to speak about the life of my sister and about the life that she lived so well over the last 53 years on this earth. So I'm going to let you in on a little bit of pulling the covers back on the family history here a little bit. And so there'll be some stories here. Don't shake your head, Greg. I'm not going to really tell any things about you. But like they said, Leanne was born in Banning, California on December 19th, 1969. She was the fourth kid of four. So I was the oldest, my brother Greg, my sister Stephanie, and then Leanne was last, sorry. Pictures that we had up here were she always had her blonde pigtails, always had a smile, was always running everywhere 50 miles an hour. She was always the one where at the end of the day when we had dinner, we'd always ask, where is she? Because no one really knew if she was in the house, outside, down the street, whatever. But she was pretty amazing. She joined our family on our migration to Idaho in the early 70s from Southern California. We spent the better part of the first couple summers sitting in the back of my dad's white pickup truck, crisscrossing Idaho. And I really think, as I kind of thought about her life, that's probably really where her sense of adventure came from. And we literally spent those years just exploring what this great state had to offer. And I think at the time she was only 5, 6, 7 years old. And I really do think when I look back, and that's really what kind of created in her a sense of adventure. We also every year endured the 18-hour drives to California in the back of the Pontiac Bonneville, all four of us, and it was as bad as it sounds. But I really do think as well, when I think about that really unleashed her love of travel. I mean, she would always be the one that was either sitting in the back window looking out or looking out at the mountains somewhere. And I really think it was in those trips that she kind of developed this sense of really loving to travel. And then in junior high and high school, she found 2 Bs, which was her beauty and her boys. And I know there's some people around here that I can point fingers at that joined in her with that little partaking of the Bs in her life. She also found out at the same time that her bedroom window was just as good as the front door of the house, particularly on Fridays and Saturday nights. And there was many times Greg and I had the room next to her and Steph, and I would hear ruckus going on at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and realize it was my dad pulling my sister through the window. And so, again, I think the stories that we all know, and you probably all know of her, kind of match probably a little bit of that personality in her. And last, she was the baby of the family, and obviously had it a lot easier than us older kids. I think Steph's shaking her head as well. In fact, one of the pictures on here, my dad never gave me any money at all, but one of the pictures on here, she looks like she's ready to go into a dance, and my dad's pulling money out of his pocket, and I don't know where that came from. And so being the baby, I think, had some perks for her that none of the other of us enjoyed. And then it came to college in the adult years. Like it's been said before, she went to BSU. She majored in political science, and she was just wicked smart. And she could hold a conversation with just about anybody on about any topic. And apparently some of you were on the other end of that, probably not maybe the best side of it sometimes, but she was just wicked smart. And during this time, I was at my parents' house one day, and the phone rang. This is the time when we still had phones on the wall. And I remember I picked it up, and there was another gentleman on the other end of it asking for Leanne. And I said, well, she's not here right now, but can I take your name and number? And he's like, well, my name's Brett Plummer. And he goes, I don't have a number because I think you were working up in Stanley or somewhere that summer or whatever. And so I ended up having to tell Leanne who had called. And it was, again, sometime after that, a few years later, that there was a wedding that we spoke of earlier, and she merged her family with the Plummer family, and kind of the rest is history. So in the few days after her passing, I also spent a good amount of time on Leanne's Facebook. I wanted to be reminded of my precious sister and the time that she spent on earth and in our lives. And something stood out to me in the many posts and pictures that day. And I think some of those things have already been communicated here today, but some of the things that I observed, she was always very encouraging and celebrating others, always making them feel honored and special. And while outspoken in her belief, she was always spoke those things with grace and compassion. Maybe sometimes not so much grace and compassion, but she always got around to it, I think, at some time. Lots of pictures of kids and vacations. There was the famous Hazel video presenting Why I Need a Bunny. And I mentioned this last week. If you haven't seen that one, go out to the website. It's an instant classic. I'm not sure why that hasn't trended more than it has, but what a great presentation, by the way, Hazel.
That bunny lives.
Yeah, and the bunny lived. Yeah, in fact, I think there was an inordinate amount of time spent after that on Max the bunny between running away and eating the tulips. So Max is still with us. There was also pictures of her enjoying the outdoors, especially with family and friends in the Sawtooths. And I especially cherish the memories of her and I being up at Smiley Creek in the fall. I would go up archery hunting, and at least one night of the week, she would call me up and say, hey, you're coming over for dinner. She'd always say she was cook, but it was always pizza from Stanley. So, I mean, that's, I think, part of who she was as well. But we really spent hours just talking about family and life and dogs, and probably many of you here. but no topic was basically off limits. And it never crossed my mind, honestly, until I was putting this together this week, that the place that she loves so much was also a definition of my sister. And she loved to spend time at Smiley Creek. And it dawned on me this week, every time you saw her, she had a smile. And so now we have a cabin actually down the way from them, and I don't think I'll ever go back to Smiley Creek and not think of her great smile. Perhaps the greatest observation, though, in almost every picture, along with her ever-present smile, is that she was always loving anyone and everyone in her life's path. And I think for me, that is her greatest attribute, was her courageous and ferocious love for others. And I think we all, it's been spoken of today. I think if you've been around Leanne at all, you've experienced that love, and especially for her children. And I wanted to share a story that I heard recently, and it relates to time and the lesson that we can all learn of how to spend it. And it's a story about a man named Danny, who was at home one day and got a call from his mom. And he picked up the phone, and his mom said that maybe I shouldn't tell the story. But it was his mom on the other line, and she wanted to let Danny know that the widower down the street had passed away. And Danny had spent a lot of time with this person growing up, doing woodwork and things like that at his house. And it actually became his occupation. And he had spent so much time with this man. This man had basically taken him under his wing. And so he got a ticket to go to the funeral. And when he went home, he went down the street to the man's house. And in the house, he recognized pretty much everything was in the same place. It was the same sights, the same sounds, the same tools, the same everything. Except he did notice that there was one thing missing. I say we just leave it this time. We'll pick it up after we're done. But there was one thing that he found that was missing, and on his desk there was a box. And Danny remembers when he was younger, he had always asked the man, he goes, what's in the box? And the man would say, it's my greatest treasure. And the box was locked, and Danny could never get into it. And he always asked the man, he goes, can I see what's in the box? And he says, well, maybe someday I'll show you what's in the box, not right now. And so they had the funeral, and he went home. And about a week later, when he came home from work one day, there was a sticky note on his door from the post office that, hey, you got a package. And Danny went down to the post office and picked up the package and brought it home, and it was wrapped in the old brown bag that you used to get at the store, and scrawled on it was Danny's name and address. And he recognized the address on the return was the address of the widower's house. And he opened up the package, and in the package was the box of his greatest treasure. And there was a key taped to the top. And Danny, in his anticipation, like, man, what is this? Is this money? Is it his wedding rings from him and his wife? Is it what is it? And so he took the key, opened up the box. And in the box, there was a faded yellow note that said, Danny, my greatest treasure was the time you spent with me. I think that's a reminder for all of us that time is our greatest treasure. And that each of us has an hourglass, and each grain of sand is a second of our life. And when we are born, that hourglass is turned over. And as our lives progress, the sands of time flow, and yet we don't know when the last grain of sand will fall. And I wanted to share that with you today because I have a few reminders about time, and particularly how they relate to Leanne. The first being, I want to encourage you to remember that your time on earth, as hers, is not unlimited. And as humans, we tend to track the passage of time in seasons, whether it's seasons on the calendar, seasons at school, seasons at sports. But before we know it, those seasons all blend together and years past. So my encouragement is to be mindful of time that is left in your hourglass and be purposeful about how you spend it. I know Leanne was so good at prioritizing her time and her friendships, especially, and her family, and especially to those that she loved. And also, too, I think the greatest honor that we can give Leanne regarding our time is to remember her family. It's no secret that her kids were her prized treasure. She was a terrific mother. She loved each one of her children so deeply, and they need our time now more than ever. And she would want us to become her hands and her feet and her voice in their life. And for Brett, navigating being a dad without the companion and his best friend Leanne is going to be difficult. And we need to take our time and love him and support him and encourage him in the days and weeks and months ahead. And in closing, my encouragement for everyone here today is to share the treasure of your time with this precious family, individually and as a family. And as a way we can all continue to honor Annie and to keep her memory alive in our world. So we got one more thing that we're going to do right now. Taylor, she's going to come up, and this is, I give you this one thought to keep. I am with you still. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in morning's hush, I am the sweet uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am soft stars that shine at night. Please do not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new dawn. And then the thing that Debbie read as well earlier, I was going to read as well. I'll read it one more time. But it's basically something that Leanne put up on her Facebook page apparently a while back. And it's about grief. And I know many of us in conversations have been experiencing, obviously, a lot of grief through this passing. And I think it's very opportune that she put that up there for us as a reminder. She said, grief never ends, but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness, nor a lack of faith. It is the price of love. So thank you all for coming today and honoring Leanne with your presence and in her memory. I'm going to say a quick prayer to close, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do on the food, okay? So why don't you bow your heads, please, and we'll pray. Lord, we just commit Leanne to you today, and we grant her a measure of your mercy and your grace as one created in your image. I pray you keep her family in your arms. Touch her friends with reminders of her life often. And when we see your creation, especially the places that she loved, I pray we will always remember her smile and the beautiful soul that she was. We just thank you for this time today. Thank you to honor our mom, our sister, our wife, our friend, Leanne Harvey Plummer. And we just thank you in your precious name we pray. Amen. So what we're going to do right now is